Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is On Edge. And this is pretty much a title that came into my mind last night based off of a particular scripture in the law that Lord's will want to highlight in this lesson. Um, but before I do that, I just wanted to read the definition for on edge online, which it says on edge, tense, nervous, or irritable. And what would bring about that tense or irritable spirit is the things of this world. You know, the way that situations are happening in the world, oppression, necessity, you know, as the scriptures say, being subject to payments. So a couple of scriptures came to mind. I wrote them down last night, and then a couple of words came to mind. I wrote them down, looked up some of them in the scriptures. And the main scripture we're going to highlight here is the book of 2 Samuel 17. And this is dealing with a situation when King David was run out of his kingdom by his son Absalom. And pretty much they were in the wilderness. He was pretty much exiled from his own kingdom by his own son. You know, he was the mighty man of war. The men that were with him were mighty men of war. His son Absalom was taking counsel from different counselors in Israel to find out what's the best thing to do to to see what the best thing to do was. And Ahithophel gave him a counsel to go and allow him to go and pretty much kill the king, you know, and to subdue him, you know, or something along those lines. And once Absalom got the counsel from Ahithophel, he went to Hushai, and Hushai also gave counsel of what should be done. And what ended up happening was that the counsel that Hushai gave him was more appealing to Absalom. And you would think that Hushai was setting King David up, but he really wasn't, because Hushai went and had a couple of men go and tell King David what was going down, to warn him not to be in a particular place, because Absalom was going to come and get him, you know. So that was the Lord, you know, looking out for King David. But the point of the matter is that the counsel that Hushai gave, which we're going to read about, pretty much was of not to pursue his father, King David, because they were valiant and mighty men, and they were men chafed in the spirit. You know, and when you look up that word chafed, it means bitter, you know, and that bitterness comes from the irritability of necessity, you know, being in a desperate state of mind, you know, being in a not knowing what's going to happen state of mind. And pretty much that's what we're about to enter into right now. You know, that's why the name of the lesson is called On Edge. And this is the main reason why the scriptures say, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation." Because the things that you learn, you know, from the truth, you know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, is the only thing that's going to keep us stabilized in these turbulent times that are coming. Because when you're at sea and there's turbulence, what is the main way for a ship to at least remain sturdy? They have to what? Hoist the anchor. And once the anchor is hoisted keeps the ship in place, it has a better chance not to be destroyed, not to be run into, shallow waters or into stones or into boulders or whatever the case may be, because it's anchored. So at least it won't drift. And that's pretty much what the truth is to us. It's an anchor to our souls. It's an anchor to us, mentally. So when these things start happening, we can be cemented and stable. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Ratha, that we be the elect. So let's start off there in 2 Samuel 17. It says, moreover, Ahithophel said unto Absalom, let me now choose out 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David this night. And I will come upon him while he is weary, because they knew he was weary. Why did they know he was weary? Because he was exiled from his kingdom. Here it is, he's the king, but he's exiled from his kingdom. So being that he's out there destitute, he was in a weary state of mind and weak and weak-handed, because he didn't have all of his military. He just had his mighty men with him, which that's all he needed. Or overall, all he needed is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It says that will make him afraid, and all the people that are with him shall flee, and I will smite the king only. So this guy Ahithophel was out of his goddamn mind. He thought that if he could get King David on a one-on-one, that he would be able to handle King David. You out your goddamn mind, son. You must have lost your mind. How does that go? The hell you say? It says, and I will bring back all the people unto thee. The man whom thou seekest is as if all returned. So all the people shall be in peace. And the same pleased Absalom, which Absalom was bugging out. Well, and all the elders of Israel. Then said Absalom, call now Hushai, the Archite, also, and let us hear likewise what he saith. And it says, and when Hushai was come to Absalom, Absalom spake unto him, saying, Ahithophel has spoken after this manner. Shall we do after his saying? Shall we do after his saying? If not, speak thou. And Hushai said unto Absalom, the counsel that Ahithophel hath given is not good at this time. For said Hushai, thou knowest thy father and his men, that they be mighty men, and they be chafed in their minds, as a bear robbed of her whelps in the field. And thy father is a man of war, and will not lodge with the people. So pretty much he said that, they are men of war, and they're chafed in their minds as a bear, robbed of her whelps. Now, a mama bear that got her children taken away from her, she's in a very desperate state of mind. She's not really stable in the mind, so she'll destroy anything that gets in the way in her path so that she can get to her cubs. So that's the same way that King David and his men were. They were chafed in their mind, because first of all, here it is, it's King David's kingdom, and he's been exiled from his own kingdom. So the state of mind that they were in was very bitter. And that's why when we look up the word chafed, let's go real quick here to 2 Samuel. Let me let it load up a little here there. Just bear with me 1 second. Let's go to 2 Samuel, the 17th chapter and the 8th verse. And it says, for the word chafed, the word there is the word marah or mar, which means bitter, bitterness of water or food, because it could be the bitterness of water or food as far as being contaminated, but it could also be the bitterness of a person. It says of harlot's end and of wickedness, cry of pain, bitterly, discontented, chafed, great, heavy. Now let me see if the word chafed comes up in the offline dictionary. I didn't look that up, so let's see what comes up. And there's a bunch of scriptures, when you go to the word chafed and you go to the Hebrew, it sends you to a whole bunch of scriptures. Let's see if this word comes up. Oh, it comes up. It says chafed, painful from having the skin abraded, which that's good, because whenever let's say you had you were in the sun too long and your neck, got jacked up or whatever the case is, or something happened to where you had some discomfort around your neck area, for whatever case it may be, and you put on a shirt with a collar on it, and it's constantly rubbing on your neck, that part of your neck that's chafed is going to get worse. It's going to be irritated or irritable. And when you touch it, all you want to do is take that shirt off or whatever and not let anything or anyone touch it. So that's how King David and his men were in the spirit. They were irritated. They were bitter. And this is pretty much the sentiment of the men of the Lord on the earth. And we're building off of King David because, the same way he was in bitterness, the Lord delivered him out of that bitterness. And it's the same way Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Yahweh Ratazar will deliver us from these coming situations. This is Psalm 6:1. O Lord, rebuke me not in thine anger, neither chasten me in thy hot displeasure. Have mercy upon me, O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are vexed. So pretty much we're in that vexed state. Like King Solomon said, that everything is vanity and vexation of spirit. When you read all throughout the book of Ecclesiastes, you'll find that phrase many, many times. All is vanity and vexation of spirit. My soul is also sore vexed, but thou, O Lord, how long? Yeah, because this is our sentiments. How long, O Lord? When are you going to take these devils out? Because our spirits are vexed. It's like every little thing sets us off. People in the world, they rub us the wrong way. From their speech that from the conversations that they have, to the shit that they eat, to their mentality, the way that they think, the way that they smell, just everything in general just irritates you about this world. So we're in that same mindset. It says, return, O Lord, deliver my soul, O save me, for thy mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of thee. Yeah, because that constant state of mind of bitterness and depression, it leads to an early grave. But like the scripture says in many different places, that the grave cannot praise the Lord. The dead can't give praise to the Lord, because that once that body is dead, it's finished. It's inanimate. It doesn't move. It just decomposes. So the living praise the Lord. That's why in Proverbs it says that a live dog is better than a dead lion. A lion is more powerful, but if the lion is dead, that dog is better, because it's still alive. It still has functions. So it says, in the grave, who shall give thee thanks? I am weary with my groaning. All the night make I my bed to swim. I water my couch with my tears. Yeah, because of that constant heaviness. And sometimes you don't want to be heavy. You don't want to be depressed, but it's just a feeling and a spirit, demons that come over you, especially being in this place. That's why the scriptures say that hope deferred maketh the heart sick. We see the finish line, but we see that this devil still hasn't gone down. Jeremiah said, the harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. So, but even though it's that close, we're still like, come on. That's why the scriptures say, hastening the coming of the Lord. Mine eye is consumed with because of grief. It waxeth old because of all mine enemies. Yeah. And that, like I said, that constant depression, heaviness, bitterness, it breaks the body down. I quote this from time to time from the movie Godfather 3. It says, the mind worries and the body suffers for it. It says, depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity, for the Lord hath heard the voice of my weeping. So don't think that the Lord ain't hearing, he ain't listening, he ain't acting. It's just that his time frame is different from our time frame. The Lord hath heard my supplication, the Lord will receive my prayer. Let all mine enemies be ashamed and sore vexed. Let them return, let them return and be ashamed suddenly. Now let's go from there to Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. Because everything is a vexation in this society. Ecclesiastes 1 and 14. It says, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. The only thing that means anything in this world is this, the word of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Teaching the words of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai and the brotherhood. The true brothers and the true sisters. That's really all that really has any value in this world. But the main thing that only has value in this world is the words of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, his truth. Everything else is vexation of spirit. It's a fleeting moment. No, pleasure is a fleeting moment. It's here 1 minute and gone the next. Scripture speak about in a day of adversity, you forget about prosperity. You know? So now let's go from there to the book of Deuteronomy 28. And these, see, that depression, heartaches, hard way to go, everything that we suffer through is all part of the curses. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 20. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, see, and rebuke in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do. So no matter what Jake tries to do, they never prosper. And the only way Jake prospers in this society is if they sell out. And even in that, they got to continually sell out. That's why a lot of Jakes bug out. They grow a conscience. They start bugging out, because of their spirit of who they are. But the only way you can enjoy this world freely is by selling out. You Israelites out there. And even in that, you're not really free. Because you're subject, you're going to serve somebody. Bob Dylan said it best. You're going to serve somebody. You're either going to serve the Lord or you're going to serve the devil. You're going to serve somebody. You see? But the benefits of serving the Lord, although it's a harder way to go, far outweigh serving the devil and these pleasures that are fleeting. This decadent lifestyle. So it says, the Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, meaning destructured, and until thou perish quickly. And that happens. You see a lot of Jakes die young. A lot of these celebrities and comedians that make it and they start having a good life, a lot of them, once they get into their 40s and their 50s, they drop dead. Colon cancer, different types of cancers, different types of things, because of the lifestyle that they're living. It says, because of the wickedness of thy doing, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So this spirit of being on edge is a direct effect of the curses that the Lord put upon us because of the wickedness that we did. Now let's go from there. I'm not sure. Let me see. I think this is Ecclesiastes. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes. I believe it's Ecclesiastes, not Ecclesiasticus. Yep, Ecclesiastes 7 and 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. So if you're a wise man and you're being oppressed, you're going to be in a state or a mindset of being angry. And the reason why people in the world ask, why are you so angry? And they're not angry because they're not wise. They're fools. So it says oppression. We look up the word oppression. The word oppression is aishak. Oppression, extortion, injury. So we're suffering injuries. We're suffering extortion. Gained by extortion, deceitfully gotten. Because to be fraud, to be, another one is distress. To be subject to this world, you're subject to what? Constantly subject to being tributary. Do not the scripture say that we are subject to payments? What does it mean to be subject? It means to be under the rule of payments. So this is, you pretty much constantly chasing the dollar for what? To keep paying off your bills. To be able to survive, to be able to eat. You know? And Jake in general, pretty much living check to check. They might have a little stash on the side, but it's not really much. You know, some issue happens or comes up, their car or whatever the case may be, and they have to dig into their account. And pretty much after that, they're pretty much left with damn near nothing. And they have to build back whatever little they can. You know, so that constant chasing that dollar and worrying, you know, that breaks the body down. That's a part of being on edge. That's that oppression, you know? So surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. So when you're in a state where someone is over you and doing things to you unjustly, you're going to be upset. You're going to be pissed off. And that's why we're at that point. And this is why King David and his men were chafed. Because they were wise men. They understood that, man, that's supposed to be my kingdom. And I'm running from this guy. But King David understood, though, that it was happening because the Most High told him it was going to happen. You know, but the point is that he was still chafed in the spirit. He was still in bitterness. Let's go from there to Ezekiel. Or as the brothers from Chi-Town said, Ezekiel. I was watching the brothers out there in Des Moines, you know, doing the response to the harlot. Give me the book of Ezekiel. I know I ain't doing it no justice. I ain't got the Chicago or the Chi-Town accent. Ezekiel 3:1. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go and speak unto the house of Israel. So we're commanded to eat this whole roll, the whole roll from front to back. Everything. You know, and then go and teach the house of Israel, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels, means your mind, your brain, with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness, because this knowledge is honey. It is sweet. But what happens? Let's go to Revelation now, the 10th chapter. Revelation 10:8. And it says, And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel, which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up. Same thing that was told to Ezekiel. And it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. So what happened? His belly became on edge, bitter, chafed, you know, grief stricken. Because we know what's supposed to be. We know that righteousness is supposed to rule, even though we know that wickedness had to, you know, be here first. But we know how the world is supposed to be and how it's going to be. And we desire and long for it. Just like when you're from a particular city or town and you have to go away somewhere You know, whether it be a trip or whether it be, you know, for work, whatever. And it comes a point where you start longing for home. And it's agonizing because you become depressed because you want to go back home, but you know that you can't until you fulfill that mission. So that's pretty much where we're at. We're in bitterness. We're chafed in the spirit. We're on edge because we desire to go home. We desire for this world to be righteous as it's supposed to be, but it hasn't gotten to that point yet. But it's coming. All right? So now let's go from there to the Apocrypha, to the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, the 21st chapter. Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, the 21st chapter, and the 12th verse. And it says, He that is not wise will not be taught. That's why the scriptures say that a fool hates knowledge. It says, but there is a wisdom which multiplieth bitterness. See, there is a wisdom which multiplieth bitterness. And that's what we're going through. And I looked up the word bitter, I think in the Common Dictionary. I'm not sure. Let me see. Let me make sure. Bitter. For a dry, sharp tasting, no. The taste experienced when quinine or coffee, no. The property of having a harsh, unpleasant taste, which is good, make bitter. Marked by strong resentment or cynicism. Very difficult to accept or bear. See? Very difficult to accept or bear. So that bitterness is hard to accept. But we know we have to accept it because it's a part of our punishment. So that's why we're on edge. All right? So now let's go from there back to the book of Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. And that's why it says that the word is honey. It's so sweet. But then once it's digested, it becomes bitter. Ecclesiastes 1:18. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. See? So the more into this knowledge you get, the more sorrowful you'll be, the more bitter you'll be, the more on edge will be, the more chafed will be. You know? And it's a grief of heart. You know? It's sometimes you get to the point where you don't want to deal or talk to anybody. You don't want to be around anybody. You know, you just want to be left alone. You don't want to hear about nobody's problems. You don't want to talk to anybody. You just want to go somewhere and sulk. You know, until that demonic spirit passes. Because that's what it is a demon. Until it passes. That's why Proverbs 18:14 says this. The spirit of man will sustain his infirmity. But a wounded spirit, who can bear? See? A wounded spirit, who can bear? That's why the scriptures speak about not giving our minds over to heaviness. Because that grief and that sorrow, too much of it is not good. You know, a balance of it is good because it keeps us humble, you know. It keeps us on a straight and narrow. But too much of it is not good because it breaks the body down. It makes us useless. You know? And we want to be useful for the master's work. We want to be able to function in this truth. You know, that's what the scriptures say, that not to give your mind over to too much sorrow or something along those lines. I believe that's in the Apocrypha. So now let's go from there back to Ecclesiasticus, the 31st chapter. And that's why these scriptures are very important, because they navigate. They help us to navigate. Ecclesiasticus 31:29. But wine drunken with excess maketh bitterness of the mind, with brawling and quarreling. No, that's not the one. That's not the one. I must have wrote down something wrong. Let me see. Let me check out. Now, we already read 21, the 21st chapter. It's not that. Hmm. Just bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. Because I wrote the wrong scripture down. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me see if I could find this one, because, I mean, if not, we'll move on, because the point is being made with the precepts we went through. But if the Spirit allows, I would like to get that one, because it seemed like everything was flowing. Okay, so I wrote the wrong one down. It was Ecclesiastes, let's see, Ecclesiastes 30 and 17. Ecclesiastes 30 and 17. Death is better than a bitter life or continual sickness. See, death is better than a bitter life or continual sickness. So it was the 30th chapter and the 17th verse. All right. All right. So now let's go from there. The Proverbs, the 14th chapter. Proverbs 14 and 10. It says, the heart knoweth his own bitterness. So you can have two brothers or two sisters going through the same exact thing, but the only one that really knows what's really going on in their mind is the person that's actually going through it. That's why it says the heart knoweth its own bitterness, and a stranger does not intermeddle with his joy. But the point is, the heart knoweth his own bitterness. Why? Because you're the one that has these thoughts and these feelings within yourself. That's why we seek counsel, of course, but the ultimate counselor should be yourself. Ourselves should be our ultimate counselor. I mean, we do have, seek counsels from different brothers, different elders, bishops, apostles, but the ultimate counselor should be yourself, because you know your situation better than anybody else. That's why it says the heart knoweth his own bitterness. And that's being on edge. Now let's go from there back to Ecclesiasticus. So I'm doing a lot of jumping around like the House of Pain, but that's all right. Ecclesiasticus, let me see, 7 and 11. It says, laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul, for there is one which humbleth and exalteth. So when that man is going through the bitterness of his soul, he's being humbled. But just because that man's being humbled, don't laugh, to scorn in the bitterness of his soul, because you could find yourself in that same situation next. Think about it. Ecclesiastes 4 and 6. For if he curse thee in the bitterness of his soul, his prayer shall be heard of him that made him. See? So, because pretty much the bitterness of one's soul breaks you down to the point where you go through a humbling experience. And in that humbling experience, what happens? There is your spirit, your mind is looking for a solution. And Jake, for the most part, their solution, they know that it lies with the Most High. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. This is Baruch chapter 2, verse 18. It says, but the soul that is greatly vexed, which goeth stooping and feeble, and the eyes that fail, and the hungry soul will give thee praise and righteousness, O Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So when we're brought down to that predicament, it's the Lord humbling us. And when does Jake really seek the Lord? in their afflictions. Like the Lord said, I will go and hide, I will go to my place until they acknowledge their offense. In their affliction, they will seek me early. Because if Jake is not afflicted, for the most part, if they're doing good, what does it say? Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. And that is true for Jake in general. And this is why the Lord said that, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, for whom he loveth, he chasteneth and rebuketh often. Why? To give a reminder, not to get beside ourselves. To give a reminder, not to be overbearing. To give a reminder that, remember, don't be too high-minded. Because the scriptures speak about he that exalteth himself shall be abased. Hey, that's what the scriptures say. Job chapter 3, verse 20. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul, being chafed in the spirit, being on edge. It's not a good feeling. So didn't we just read in the Apocrypha that it's better, death is better than that? Now let's go to Job 7:11. And if you want to know about grief and bitterness and being on edge and chafing the spirit, read the book of Job. Next time you're sitting there lamenting over a little something that you're going through, read the book of Job. See what the hell he was going through and the bitterness of soul that he was in. And that'll lift you right out of that situation. That's what the scriptures say, that the things that were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the Spirit might have hope, of the scriptures might have hope. See, you read the book of Job, then you'll see what real grief is. You'll see what really being on edge is, really being chafed is. Job drinking down afflictions like he drinks water. Job chapter 7 verse 11. Therefore I will not refrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit, because he was aggravated. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. So he was in a super bitter place. He was so bitter that he didn't even want to eat. He didn't want to sleep. He didn't want to drink anything. He lost everything that was near and dear unto him, even his health. And he thought it strange, because he was like, man, I served the Lord. I did everything the Lord wanted me to do. I never robbed anybody. I didn't lay with no man's woman. I didn't shun anybody. If somebody needed something, I helped them out. I didn't shut my bowels of compassion. I did everything that the Lord said for me to do. Why am I still going through this? Hey. Ezekiel. I'm trying to get the Chi-Town pronunciation. Ezekiel 9:4. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, which Jerusalem represents the nation of Israel, and set a mark, meaning a thawah, an exemption from judgment, upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So we should be in a bitter mindset. We should be in a vexed mindset. We should be in a chafed mindset. We should be on edge, because wickedness is ruling and righteousness is not. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. But righteousness is on the come up. Ezekiel 9:4. And let's look up a couple of these words. That's 10 and 4. Why is that? 9 and 4. All right. Let me see. That says, let's try this. The ones that sigh. The word there is anah. Sigh, groan, in pain or grief, grasp, moan of cattle, groan, mourn, sigh. So those that sigh and that cry, that are mourning. All right, now let's look up the word cry. The word cry is the word Anak with a qua, anakwa, anak. To cry, groan, to cry, lament. Matter of fact, that brings to mind, just bear with me 1 second. Because we're going to be in a chafed state of mind. As long as we're not in the kingdom, we're going to be in a chafed state of mind. This is Romans 8:22. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. So we're groaning. What are we groaning for? The kingdom of heaven. So if Jake out there is not groaning for the kingdom of heaven, then they're not in the right mindset. They're not part of the elect. The men and the women that are moaning and groaning to desire the kingdom of heaven, these are the ones that the Lord's looking for. Let's see. All right, that's it. Let me read that again. Romans 8:22. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. So the Lord said to set a mark upon the men, foreheads of the men that sigh and they cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And the longer we're here, the more wicked this place becomes, and the stronger our grief gets. But the stronger our grief gets, the stronger the consolation gets. Because the Lord gives us the spirit to be able to endure and get through it. Because the best way to handle it would be to understand it. And understanding that the more wicked this place becomes, the sooner the Lord will destroy this place. Remember, it said that the Lord looked down and he saw that the wickedness of man was great. So what did he do? He destroyed the old world by way of a flood, which was the first death. This world is reserved unto fire, which is the second death, which is talking about those nuclear missiles. And there's a reason why the Lord gave the spirit to these devils to create these missiles, so that he can do upon America what he did on Babylon the Great. What he did in Sodom and Gomorrah. America is Babylon the Great. And the same judgment that he brought on them is going to be brought here. But this time it's going to be brought here by way of the vehicle known as a thermonuclear destruction, which is going to carry the same elements that the Lord caused to infuse in the air to create this fire and brimstone that rained down from heaven upon those cities for all of the wickedness that they did. Because this place is restored and reserved unto that day. So 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 6, it says, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow. He overthrew them. You got to remember that back then, that was a thriving, those were thriving cities. You can use those cities like today to say New York City, Chicago, Atlanta, LA, Dallas, let's say, for instance. You know, those are thriving cities. So these 5 cities were thriving cities in down there in below, what is it, the Dead Sea, around the area where Esau lived, down in that region, around there. That's where the Lord took those 5 thriving cities and destroyed them for the wickedness that they were doing. So that's what's happening here. So the Lord said he overthrew them because of this wickedness, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. So that means that the lifestyle that they had was an ungodly lifestyle. Now America, Babylon the Great, is supposed to be this beacon of Christianity, this beacon of righteousness, and they're supposed to set the presidents for the world to follow. What do? They exalt that lifestyle. They give them a whole month to enjoy that lifestyle. They enable that lifestyle. They protect that lifestyle. So what do you think is going to happen? Because we're reading that Sodom and Gomorrah and those neighbor cities were set as an example to those that after should live ungodly. And delivered just Lot, vexed. So he was chafed. He was on edge with the filthy conversation of the wicked. So you know that this man must have heard all type of stuff that they was saying back then. You know, men whispering to men what they want to do to them the way you whisper to a woman what you want to do to her. Do you know how vexing and aggravating that is? And he had to hear this shit day in and day out, day in and day out. And you got to remember that he didn't know that that place was going to be destroyed. So he had to suffer that. He had to live in that grief, vexed, chafed, on edge spirit day in and day out. Why do you think he told the two angels to come into his home? Don't stay out there at night, man. You don't want to be out there at night. The freaks come out at night, baby. Y'all want to come up in here and be safe. Away from that. You don't want to be out there. Trust me, you know? Because he knew the wicked conversations and the wicked things that were going on and that strange flesh that these devils were chasing after back then. And those are Hamites. It says, for that righteous man dwelling among them, just like the prophets are among these people, just like the elect are among the people of this world, witnessing everything that's going on the same way that Lot witnessed it back then. Vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. So he was in a constant state of vexation. He was always on edge. The only time he would have any type of rest would be when he would be in the comfort and safety of his home. Other than that, while he was about doing what he did, feeding his cattle, doing what he did, checking over, his workers, this, that, and the other, he was constantly reminded of the filthiness that was going on in that place. And the only time he had, rest was when he was home. Day in, day out. Remember, he didn't know of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. He didn't have any hope, that one day he would be delivered from that. He just thought that that's the way it was. See, we have the hope that the Lord is going to destroy this place. We know that the Lord is going to destroy this place. We see the things coming. So we have something to hold on to as an anchor. As to where Lot didn't have that. And that's why when the angels told him to split, and he told his two what the hell were they to him? Sons-in-law to split. It said that they looked at him like as someone that was mocking. And the day that he was supposed to go, the angels, look, man, you got to hurry up, get up out of here, man. And he was just, he was dragging his feet. He wasn't really hastening to get out of there. That's why the angel had to, push him along. Come on, you got to get on up out of here, man. We're about to do some work up in here, man. You holding progress, baby. You got to get on up out of here. Come on, shoo along. And don't look back. And then finally when they got out of there, and show you how much the Lord loved Lot. Lot said, man, I don't want to go up to the mountains, man. Some crazy shit might happen to me up there, man. Some wild beast and come and eat my ass up, I mean, this is not exactly what he said. I'm just, merely paraphrasing what he said. Oh, over there, Zoar, that's a little city. Let me go over there. He said, all right, go ahead. I've heard you for this one. Go ahead, go over there, because we can't get busy until you get into safety, and don't look back. Boom. So then when they start getting busy and start destroying that place, that fire started coming down, and that fire, people was running. Let me not say the F word. Them hummuses were running, and that fire was coming down and boom, crashed on top of their head. The L's and the G's and the B's and the Q's and the R's and everything else under the sun, XYZ, was getting hit with the flames of hell from the heavens. Eventually Lot and his daughter said, nah, because his wife had already looked back. Wife and his daughter said, nah, man, we got to get on up out of here. So they went up into the mountains anyway, because Zoar was on the Most High's list to be destroyed. But they said, you know what? Just so he can get out of here, We're going to let him chill over there, but eventually he's going to say that, nah, this is too much. Because you got to remember, when that fire was coming down and hitting, boom, it was creating earthquakes. Now, the scriptures don't get specific, but you got to imagine that the weight of that fire coming down, hitting that ground, you're going to have earthquakes. So it was probably rocking shit, you know, getting all kind of things stirred up. And he got nervous. He saw that fire starting to, you know, to blaze up. He's like, nah, man, we got to get on up out of here. And he ended up in the mountains where the angel told him to go to in the first place. But here it is, here in America, they're going to, you know, exalt and elevate that lifestyle. Unbelievable. All right, now, let me see. I got a couple other precepts here. Let's go to Exodus. I'm going to skip this one here. Let's go to Exodus, the first chapter. Got a couple of precepts, then we'll close the lesson out. Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1, verse 14. And they made their lives bitter, meaning the Egyptians made the Israelites' life bitter, with hard bondage and in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. So there was bitterness, there was rigor. You know, they were catching hell. The scriptures speak about the furnace of affliction. And that's the same thing that's happening here in America, where Jake is at predominantly. Other places in the world where Jake is at too, but here in America specifically, remember, America means bitter. All right. Now let's go from there to 2 Kings 14 and 26. 2 Kings 14 and 26. It says, for the Lord saw the affliction of Israel, that it was very bitter, and there was not any shut up, nor any left, nor any helper for Israel. And that's why the Lord is going to bring help and salvation to his elect. Now let's go from there to the book of 1 Samuel. This is just to show you, you know, another example of being bitter in mind. This was Hannah, and she was bitter in soul and mind because she couldn't get pregnant. And, you know, Elkanah's other wife, she was pregnant and she despised Hannah. And she was giving her those looks, you know. So Hannah was troubled. So this is 1 Samuel 1 and 10. I started 9. So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. She was in such bitterness that she was mumbling to the Lord, because she was really groaning in her spirit. And Eli thought she was drunk. Kind of cursed her out. He thought she was drunk, but she was just in the bitterness of her soul, making her petition known to the Most High. You know? But the reason why these things are written, because bitterness humbles. Humility causes us to seek the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. That's why he said, I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense. In their affliction, they shall seek me early. See? And that's where bitterness comes in. That's where being on edge and being chafed in the spirit comes in to play. Because humility causes us to seek to the Most High. All right, let's go to Esther. This is the book of Esther. This is another example. This is dealing with Mordecai, Esther 4 and 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, in other words, he knew that this devil, Haman, had set it up to be able to destroy all of Israel. And when Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and a bitter cry, because he was pouring his heart out to the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for mercy and for help. And this is pretty much what we're doing. You know, crying out to the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to have mercy on us, you know, to destroy this place. But in the destruction of this place, please remember mercy upon us. because we need the mercy, and we're doing the best that we can with what you provided for us. You gave us a task, and we're doing it to the best of our ability. So please remember, destroy this place, but remember mercy in that day for us. Let's see, Jeremiah 2:19. Jeremiah chapter 2:19. It says, thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backslidings shall reprove thee. Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy power, and that my fear is not in thee, said the Lord power of hosts. Why? Because the Lord is only going to protect his elect, the ones that fear him, the ones that do what they're supposed to do, that get involved. Let's go to Lamentations. In that book of Lamentations, that's another book of sorrow. Lamentations, mourning, and woe. It's the book of Lamentation, chapter 3, and verse 15. He hath filled me with bitterness. He hath made me drunken with wormwood. Yeah, so pretty much we're like contaminated with grief. And that grief, left unchecked, becomes contaminated, meaning it breaks the body down. So too much grief is not good. There has to be a balance. And the last precept I have here is in Ezekiel. I'm trying to perfect my shy accent. I know I got a long way to go, but it's all right. Ezekiel 3:14. It says, so the Spirit lifted me up and took me away, and I went in bitterness in the heat of my spirit, but the hand of the Lord was strong upon me. And this is why we're in bitterness too, because the Spirit of the Lord is upon us. And we know, as we mentioned before, that the righteous world is coming. But we know that we're still here subject to this wicked world. And until the righteous world is not set up, we won't be happy. This is why Yahweh said, the world shall rejoice and you shall sorrow, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. That's why he said, when you see all these things happen, look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. And that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for Yahweh to come back to remove that bitter, chafed, desperate spirit from us, depressive spirit from us, that on edge spirit, and gives us a change, to where he said that he will wipe all tears from our eyes. Because in the kingdom there will not be any depressed Israelites. Here it is, you telepathically hit a brother, hey, Shalom, bro, what's going on? What's going on, King? Shalom, Malak, what's going on? Man, I'm just sitting here depressed, man. Just waiting for the angel to come through in the chariot and drop some of those Zoloft pills off of me, man. Some of that space dust, so I can, get out of this, this predicament. I'm just tired of just, being depressed all the time. Nah, man, ain't gonna be none of that shit. Ain't gonna be no goddamn Zoloft or Prozac or hose back or whatever the hell they give people, whatever poisons they give people in this society to put them in another frame of mind, which breaks their body down even more on another level. No, none of that, man. No space dust, no Prozac, none of that. It's going to be everlasting joy. Remember, the Lord said that on his right hand there's pleasures evermore. Yahweh said that, I go to prepare a place for you in my Father's mansion, that you can't even put into your mind, what magnificent, extraordinary things the Most High has prepared for those that love him. None of that. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say Shalom.